Hello, I'm Kevin Berger. Living in the land of 10,000 lakes, it's difficult to imagine our state's vast water resources coming under siege on a number of fronts, but that's exactly what's happening, as outlined in a recent series in the St. Paul Pioneer Press. Reporter John Brewer took an in-depth look at water use and related policies across the state, and he joins us for this segment of Newsmakers. John, welcome to the program.
Hey, thanks, Kevin.
So what was the impetus? What got you started into looking into what's going on in our lakes and our waterways?
Simply just covering White Bear Lake as a city and driving around the metro. Some of the lakes you can see are significantly lower now than they have been in the past, and White Bear Lake is one of those. It's fallen 6 feet since about 2003, so in the past 10 years it's just continually dropped. And seeing that and talking to other reporters at the paper who cover outstate issues, we sort of got together and said there's something going on. It's not just a White Bear Lake issue, and we thought maybe it's regional, but really it's statewide. Water consumption is up, and that's affecting our surface waters. In the Twin Cities, historically, most of us got our water from St. Paul, or the river, Mississippi River in St. Paul, Minneapolis. That was about 60 years ago. Now most of us get our water from an aquifer that's underground, the Prairie du Chien Jordan aquifer. It's about 100 feet below us. Cities like White Bear, Oakdale, Woodbury, all pump their municipal water out of that aquifer. What that does, though, is draws the aquifer down, and groups like the U.S. Geological Survey think that potentially that drawdown of the aquifer is affecting White Bear Lake and other area lakes and dropping them down as well. So it's increased consumption is having a toll on rivers and lakes.
You mentioned statewide. Beyond White Bear Lake, what are some of the other areas that are seeing this?
Really telling is down in Worthington, Minnesota, the southwest corner of the state. They relied on surface water, some lakes in the area for their water supply, and those lakes have dropped down so much they can't rely on them anymore. So they're now importing water from Iowa, and long-term are hoping to get water from the Missouri River. So they're having to go miles and miles to get their water now.
So there was the idea that this was related to the drought, but it's more complex to that. But this drought also plays a role. Yeah,
the drought does play a role. White Bear Lake has always been susceptible to precipitation, highs and lows. When it rained, the lake would go up, and when it didn't rain, the lake would go down. What the U.S. Geological Survey has found from this preliminary study they've done is that when it rains, the lake doesn't go up as much as it used to. And when it's dry, it goes down further. And so that's why they're thinking that maybe the lake is now seeping into the aquifer, sort of leaky, for lack of a better term. Yeah.
So if you live on one of these lakes, it's very upsetting. It can affect your property values or where you can fish. But is there a bigger problem beyond that's too bad for those people who vacation or live nearby?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you may not live on the lake, you may not fish on the lake, but you drink water, you bathe, you water your lawn, and that's the resource that's being depleted right now. What local groups are talking about now is trying to get the message out that we need to conserve our water more than we have. We've always had a lot of water in Minnesota, and there's still a lot of water, but what's happening is it's starting to show up, our use on the surface, with White Bear going down. And if 30 years from now, if we don't change our consumption habits, the aquifer that's underneath us in some areas, like Woodbury, could be depleted by half. So there'll be half as much water down there. And that doesn't bode well for another 30 years out either.
A dire warning. So now it's up to citizens and our policymakers to take a look at this and make some hard decisions in some cases. Thanks so much, John. You can read John Brewer's recent series on the state's water supply and the dangers we're facing by logging onto the Pioneer Press website, that's twincities.com, and searching low water lakes. And that's it for this edition of Comcast Newsmakers. I'm Kevin Berger. Thanks for watching.